Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at the Commodore Magic Voice. And this is a cartridge for the Commodore 64. I'm unsure if it actually works on a 1:8, but I think it might, although I'm not sure about that. I haven't tried it. Perhaps I will try it. But this is a rather large cartridge that was released by Commodore in 1984, and I think it was also discontinued in 1984 as it didn't sell very well. But this is quite a rare thing anyway. And what it is a voice synthesizer. That's difficult to say. A voice synthesizer for the Commodore 64. And this plugs into the cartridge port of the 64 and allows you to plug cartridges in the top as you would normally. It contains 235 predefined words. Some of the more common words, and surprisingly some words that you wouldn't think it would use. There are words that, there are some words in there that you think would be useful and they're not included for some strange reason. But if you've only got 235 to choose from, I suppose Commodore had to choose carefully. It has to fit in a 16K ROM after all. Now this was meant to be used with tape, disc and cartridge software, so a cartridge would fit in there obviously, and it can run software from a disc or a cassette tape as usual. Features from this I think were originally planned in the Commodore 364 TED range of computers. The 364 was never released by Commodore and was cancelled not long after Jack Tramiel left the company. The 364 was, for those who don't know, a +4 which had a bigger keyboard. It was slightly Amiga-ish and had the same Toshiba 67201A voice chip built in. However, it was never released and never used. So what Commodore engineers did was they took that technology, which originally came from the Speak and Spell guys at Texas Instruments, and they fitted it into this module, thinking it would be a great idea to have speech synthesis on the Commodore 64, very much like the TI-99 had with its plug-in module on the side. The cartridge itself is called a Commodore Magic Voice, and it retailed in 1984 for about $60. You might notice two phono plugs on the side. One of them is out and the other one is in. Now what you're supposed to do, if you have the correct cable, which unfortunately I don't have, you have an audio cable which plugs into the monitor connection on the Commodore 64, and two fly leads. One fly lead plugs into the in and one plugs into the out. And what it's supposed to do is mix the audio from the Magic Voice with the audio of the Commodore 64, as the monitor plug on the Commodore 64 contains an audio in. Audio in, by the way, is red and audio out is black. The cartridge itself contains an MOS 6525A, which is an I/O controller. It was also used in the IEEE 488 cartridge and the 1551 disk drive, among other things. It has a 16K ROM containing all the speech information, and it has a Toshiba T67201A speech chip and some various logic in there for tying it all together. I think it's also emulated in Vice now. I haven't tried it, so I don't know. You'd probably need the bin file to run it, but I think it is emulated in Vice if you don't have one of these things for real. They are not easy to find nowadays. They're quite expensive to get hold of. So I don't think it's like the CPM cartridge where it will work on some machines and not on others. I think it works on everything and everything's okay. Now, software support. The software support on this cartridge is pretty dreadful. What it had was Wizard of War, which was made by, I think it was released by Commodore, wasn't made by Commodore. We have Gorf, two arcade games which contain speech, and I think an educational program, and I believe it also worked with Magic Desk. It's pretty limited. There's very little software which uses this cartridge, and I think that's a great shame because the voice characteristics of this module are pretty damn good. It's a female voice, quite softly spoken, but the words are clear, concise, and it works really well. It's not robotic in any way like the TI-99 was slightly robotic.
C64I Commodore V364. It was not to be. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 20.
1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, T, I, 99, home computer.
Press fire to begin. Alert. Alien craft advancing.
I, as a kid, remember using the Cura speech on the ZX Spectrum. Again, robotic voice, which sounded a little bit naff. I did a stream yesterday with Wizard of War, and that worked quite well. I did flick about with the audio connectors, trying the audio in and audio out in different ports. I'm going to have to make a proper cable for this that plugs into the monitor connection on the Commodore 64. I haven't done that yet. I will probably maybe do it at some point, or probably maybe never do it. Over the next 1 or 2 streams, I'll use Magic Desk and I'll use Gorf, and we'll have a play. And I'm going to write my own adventure game, probably a very simple adventure, which will use speech, and we'll have a bit of fun with that. And I'm gonna do that over the coming weekend, over the New Year's Eve weekend, if I'm still sober and able to do so. So that's it from me. Another Commodore peripheral. Great fun. I love collecting things like this. They are pretty awesome and show that Commodore really were at one point really at the top of their game with this sort of stuff. Really, really very good. Well made, well produced. So that's it from me. I'll say thank you very much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye from me, and Merry Christmas, of course, and Happy New Year if I don't see you before. Bye for now.